And in 2024, the Warhawks will be under new head coach Brian Vincent. He was most recently the offensive coordinator for New Mexico. What can you tell us about Coach Vincent and what he brings to the table for Louisiana Monroe?
First real tenure of being a head coach. He was the interim head coach for UAB actually before going back to New Mexico as the offensive coordinator. But this is it. This is the first time he hasn't had the I word in front of head coach as he takes over the Warhawks. Taking over for Terry Bowden. You know, the Bowden experiment was good. I really think, though, that the tenure there with Rich Rod really set the program back a little bit more. Because if you look at it, he was too controlling of the offense, didn't allow the talent to really dictate the type of offense that they were running. Then when he leaves to go to Jacksonville State, takes pretty much the entire coaching staff and then about half the roster with him there to the Gamecocks. So it was always great to see the ULM players celebrating their first ever bowl win in that program's history this past year when they beat Louisiana Lafayette in the New Orleans Bowl. But still hurt to know that all that talent was on the Bayou in Monroe and could have been ours, where we possibly could have been the Sunbelt representative in the New Orleans Bowl had they stuck around a little bit longer.
So we notice there's not an offensive coordinator currently on the coaching staff. Is it safe to assume that Coach Vincent will be assuming that role and he'll be the play caller?
Yeah, he's going to take the play calling responsibilities for at least year one. I think we could see an offensive coordinator hired in the second year going forward, but for right now, it's him as doing the good old co-head coach and offensive coordinator.
What can you tell us about the style of offense that he will bring to the Warhawks here in 2024?
In the spring, it was a lot of pistol formation, single back with two tight ends, and I think that's why we saw so many tight ends really get signed in the offseason, whether it be the portal, the recruiting classes coming in, is that you're going to see kind of that revolving door of tight ends, really using them more as an additional offensive lineman to allow that mid-range pass to really open up and develop down the field. But I really think that we're going to see almost a lot of 3 yards in a cloud of dust, so to say, in the running game with that offensive line headlined by the one returner of Elijah Fisher coming back to really try to get this stable of running backs, whether it be Hunter Smith, the leading returner there with 507 yards, 3 touchdowns, or the pair of JUCO running backs, Oz Smith, who did partake in spring ball, looked really good in the drills there, or the late signee, late transfer, however you want to call him, from Garden City Community College, James Jones. He was a good standout back there at Garden City, had some late qualifying issues, so that's how he was able to slide and really come to ULM. Looking forward to seeing what he can do there in the backfield as well.
Well, let's get to the position where it all starts on offense, and that's the quarterback. They lose their starter in Gia Wright and backup Blake Murphy, but they return 35 combined pass attempts between Hunter Herring and Brian Garcia. How did that quarterback room look and shape up in the spring, given what you could see and that there's a game that got rained out?
Yeah. And Garcia's not even showing on the roster headed into kind of the fall camp. So you're talking about Hunter Harrington that only played the first 2 games of the year and not even the complete game there against Lamar before he went out injured. You have some great names, most notably Aiden Armenta, the transfer from Mexico, came in. He was kind of the heir apparent for that Lobos offense under Bryant Vincent there. So he's very familiar with that offensive play scheme, knows exactly what they're trying to get done and what they're going to do this upcoming year. So you got to think that he has a leg up, did look good there in spring practices. But then you also have Jim Ogle, who was portaled out to go reunite with his dad at Murray State. So you already lost another quarterback that took some snaps there in the spring. Then you also have, the most recent addition there of General Booty coming in from Oklahoma, but has yet to throw a D1 pass. We saw what he was capable of when he was at JUCO ranks, but will that translate over to the D1 for the bigger, better, faster game that we're going to see even in the Sunbelt Conference?
They also brought in Reese Mooney via North Texas, and before that he was at Liberty. I believe he's going to play baseball there as well. Do you believe these moves to get in General Booty and Mooney are they're going to push to be in that starting quarterback here come fall?
Yeah, I think that they're going to push, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Mooney really compete for that starting position. But if he doesn't get it, then he's not just shifting over to the diamond and going full-time baseball. I think he's more than capable of being the D1 quarterback. I think he could be a good starter for what we've seen from him out of his time at Liberty and North Texas spring ball. But does that translate again to the ULM offense and what Bryant Vincent's wanting to do? Who knows? So we'll just need to kind of see what that looks like after fall camp and whether or not he sticks to football or goes straight baseball even.
Moving over to the running game, when you hit on this a little bit earlier, the Warhawks bring back their leading rusher from 2023 in Hunter Smith. In addition to Smith, they bring back Bennett Galloway, Charlie Norman, and they add Taven Curry via the transfer portal from UAB. How did the running backs look in the spring?
I was, as I said earlier, I was really impressed there with Oz Smith, the Coffeyville Junior College running back, good hard-nosed runner up the field, and was a good complement to Hunter Smith. I feel like those two, you're not going to really have a true 1 and 2 running back. You're going to have 1A, 1B because they're going to run the rock a lot, and both those guys are going to get their fair amount of touches in order to move the ball down the field.
And so I'm assuming, so you think Oz Smith will be the Isaiah Woolard of this year, if you will, kind of that.
Yeah, I think. Well, not necessarily as a fullback type position, but definitely the guy kind of getting the workload of the carries for sure.
The passing game takes a big hit. They lose their top 6 pass catchers from 2023, which leaves the aforementioned Hunter Smith, the running back, as their leading receiver coming back in 2023. He had 8 receptions on 13 targets for 71 yards. To give everybody kind of an idea of what we got coming back here, they brought in Jacob Godfrey from New Mexico and a 6'5" redshirt freshman, a wide receiver Tyler Griffin from UCF. I don't think he has taken a snap in Division I football, but how did this room shape up in the spring?
Yeah, this was definitely the huge question mark. And quite honestly, even in the spring ball, you didn't really see too much of that passing game. They really focused on working out that offensive line, knowing that they really just had one guy coming back there in Elijah Fisher. So the focus was definitely on the running game. But looking at the talent that's coming in, the size there of Tyler Griffin coming in, you got to be excited about what the future holds. But if you think about it, really, other than Aiden Armenta for the quarterback position, Mooney wasn't here, Booty wasn't here. So the quarterback that you would have seen in the spring for those receivers and developing that relationship really isn't going to be the same as what you have going into fall camp or even into the season.
Who do you think, week 1 they're going to roll out there? Like, if you're Coach Vincent, who are you putting out there?
At the quarterback position?
At wide receiver.
I mean, you can't coach height. So when you got the height there, Tyler Griffin coming in, knowing the pedigree that he's been in that high-paced offense there at Central Florida under Gus Malzahn, you got to roll with him. You're also going to be familiar there with the guys from UAB, from New Mexico as well, that they're probably going to be the ones with maybe a little bit more of a leg up than everyone else coming in.
You mentioned the tight ends earlier, so we'll move over to those guys. They lose their 4th leading receiver and tight end Nolan Quinlan to graduation, but they bring in Wyatt McClure, who was previously with Coach Vincent at New Mexico. What can you tell us about the tight end room, how they looked in the spring, and maybe what we can expect from them in 2024 in terms of being a part of the passing game?
Yeah, a guy that I really liked a lot in the spring, Quad Harris. He's a transfer from New Mexico Military, so another junior college transfer, but originally from Birmingham, so a guy that Bryant Vincent was more than familiar with in his time there at UAB. He's a guy that's 6'5", 214, so more of a route running than a blocking tight end. A guy that I'm definitely excited to see how he is when he lines up there, engaged on the line, and seeing him be able to open up that middle passing attack.
Do you think that, I mean, you alluded to it earlier that they're probably going to be more involved in the offense. What I don't know if you had to guess, like how many, I don't know, yards you think we'll see from the tight end group as a whole in terms of pass catching.
Yeah, I really don't know, because I know that the emphasis is going to be on running the ball. And so is that you're running to set up the pass, or are you running it just because you want to establish the line of scrimmage? Again, as we said, kind of coming into this year, there's a whole lot of question marks and a whole lot of unknowns to really know what the true game plan is going to be, or what the identity of this team is going to be. So a lot of it's kind of speculation and kind of looking back at the spring going, were they just playing around with the offense there, or was this kind of laying the foundation for what the offense is actually going to be like?
Gotcha.
Well, let's look at that offensive line. It took a hit this offseason, losing 4 of 5 starters. They do bring back an experienced left guard in Elijah Fisher. But what did the Warhawks do this offseason to shore up the rest of that offensive line, and how did they look?
They got a big one coming in there, 6'7", 301, out of just south of Monroe, out of Alexandria Senior Ash High School. John Curtis Goodman, 6'7", 301. What more could you want out of an offensive guard, especially at the G5 level? Even if he doesn't have much of a step, the big body's just going to be in the way, clogging it up and allowing your quarterback, running back to have time to make the plays happen. I also really like Daz Galloway, transfer out of Mississippi Gulf Coast. Anytime you're getting a guy from down south of Mississippi, those are hosses in the trenches, and anxious to see what he can do once he straps on the pads for real come fall camp.
With all this change, it might be hard to answer this question, but if you had to pick an offensive player to have a breakout type season in 2024, who would that be?
Can I guess the punter? Is that considered an offensive weapon?
I watch a lot of Iowa football, and I would say yes. Yes, it is.
I think whoever the quarterback is probably going to be kind of how the offense lives or dies. And I know that that's kind of maybe a cop-out answer of not giving you a specific name. But I think regardless who it is, they're all pretty close in the same build and the same mold of quarterback, same style, that they're all going to be the ones that kind of carry the offense. And so I think the quarterback, QB 1, 2, 3, is going to be your breakout offensive performer.